In this episode, we put the truck on the dyno.
I wonder how much power it's going to make.
Not much.
Banks Built, protected by AMSOIL.
Hi, I'm Gale Banks. Like and subscribe for weekly episodes of engineering, education, and entertainment. All right, let's do this.
I think it all leaked out last night. Got nothing this morning. Oh, it's already leaking onto my foot. Oh!
Oh my God, that can't be good.
This thing's gonna make no power.
Hold on, stop! Oh my God, look at all the fuel it's squirting. Holy shit, fuel. Ah, man.
Hose failed.
Yeah, do we have any hose?
Where'd it go?
Right here, look.
Oh no. That's bad.
There was a lot of fuel spraying on the firewall here. I mean, it was a ton of fuel.
I could smell it. There were a lot of weird sounds, a lot of weird smells. I stayed on the starter. I didn't even know it had started up. I was still
I was
cranking on
wondering
it.
why you were just grinding it.
I didn't even realize it started. I couldn't tell what was going on up there.
All right, let's fix the fuel line. Here we go.
It's always something with this thing. She's full of Band-Aids. I think she's ready for the dyno.
Little more, right there. All right, that's it for that.
So normally we'd probably do at least shrink wrap to seal these up, or even get really fancy and solder these connections, but I don't think this truck is worthy of that kind of time and effort.
I hear you guys got a truck that needs fixing. Oh, baby, I don't think I have enough race tape.
This is our purchase. 1966 C20. So it is the
So it's an
3/4 ton.
8 lug.
8 lug.
All right,
Well, we
all
do
right.
8 lug, you know?
Yeah, well, that's what 8 lugs are us.
We went deep into the coffers, into the
Yes.
Banks coffers, and we wrote a check for $1.
It's a $1 truck.
Yes.
You're really proud of yourself,
I'm
aren't you?
very proud that
All right.
we picked this up. Yes,
Well,
a friend of ours said,
let's give it the once over. Okay.
All right, yeah.
First of all, I can't help but notice this aerodynamic device here. You know, you can kind of change the drag, or in the wintertime, you know, you can block the coolant. You know, it's one of those types of deals. You know, warm it up. like on the old farm truck back in South Dakota. $1 was too much for this truck.
What?
Yes,
How dare you?
$1. They should have paid you to take it away. You're getting on my dyno. The thing is leaking gasoline everywhere.
Coolant
Thankfully,
as well.
that's coolant, huh?
Yeah.
Oh boy, this isn't going to be a very long dyno run, is it? So it's got a 32-year-old Corvair turbo muffler. Sounded kind of reminiscent of my childhood. Ah, the flow-through ventilation. Somebody didn't like the cowl induction. And this is early, this is back in the 60s. I don't even know if this is flow-through. Does this thing have one? Yeah, this thing has wind wings, so it's not flow-through. Should be a cover here. Right now, this is running this rasty, nasty engine air, which is, oh, I see. Somebody put a little eucalyptus in here to kill the odor of the engine bay. Oh, that's really nice. Oh, let me do a little walk around here. Ah, we've got wheel horsepower on here. How did you pull that off? Oh my God, water temp, air fuel ratio. You got an O2 sensor in there?
Yeah, we do.
I saw the thermocouple.
On the dyno.
We got air fuel ratio, manifold air density, manifold air temperature, exhaust gas temperature, RPM. You got the TAC signal to work on this thing?
I think that's dyno.
Oh, that's dyno RPM, okay. And manifold absolute pressure, which right now is 14.3. So we don't have ambient density, but you're logging ambient density, I assume.
We've got an air mouse.
So there's an air mouse in the nose.
Yep.
Oh, there's been a wiring genius in here. Oh, I see, that's the turn signal. Oh, so what do? Put this up your pant leg and you know, it kind of gives you a little jolt and you stick your arm out. Oh my God, there's the O2 sensor, guys. We've got the probe up the pipe, if you know what I mean. So we'll be flowing some exhaust through there and we'll get the mixture on this puppy, which as it came in here, I think it was kind of rich. I would predict rich.
Because
So-
of the scent?
Yeah, I hope these tires survive.
The tires,
We don't want to go too fast here.
I believe the tires are 19 years old.
That's reassuring.
So this is our Mr. Goodwrench 350, Gale. What do you think?
I think I'm looking at all the sins of my youth. I mean, you got your open element air cleaner that sucks in the hot air that's been through the air conditioning radiator and the radiator. So it just shoots the hell out of the intake air density. That kills horsepower, that thing right there, as opposed to something that hooked to the cowl, early NASCAR stuff. They enclosed it, took cowl air, which was under pretty high pressure.
This is not clean.
Well, there's that.
So we think this is good for like a 10 horsepower loss.
Probably, yeah. A lot of guys dyno with a hood up, so you don't know about how bad that is. You got to close it. You don't drive it around with the hood up.
Right.
When that hood up opens on the freeway, then you'll know why. So this thing's been hot rodded though. It's got a C4B Edelbrock manifold. It's got a Kata AFB on it. I don't know whose air cleaner setup that is. It's also got the trick orange plug wires, the silicon plug wires, or maybe they're just orange. I don't know.
Well, this was put in 1999 for just over $1,700 for the engine.
The engine is a Goodwrench 350, a crate engine. And as you're putting it on the dyno, it was kind of loping a little bit. And I thought, well, that ain't the camshaft. Because these things had camshafts that were like between 190 degrees to 200 degrees at 50 thousandths tappet lift. So it's a stump pulling camshaft. Probably this engine is all done at about 42 to 4,400 RPM. I hope it gets there before it blows. We'll see. I just don't want oil all over my dyno, okay?
Okay, all right.
All right.
So where do you think the horsepower and torque peak are on the RPM band?
Well, the horsepower is somewhere around 42 to 4,400.
Okay.
All right. It probably will rev a little higher. You've got a 3-speed automatic. It just depends on where the shift schedule is set up, but it's done over 4,000 RPM. Where's the torque peak? 1800? Somewhere in there?
Okay.
Down in the weeds? I mean, it's a truck engine. One thing about this is this thing's a 350. And these things either had a 283, probably with a 2-barrel, or a 327, and that could have been 2-barrel or 4-barrel. But the horsepowers back in then were a little under 200 horsepower to a little over 200 horsepower, that type of thing. I can't give you torque numbers, but they were very, very wimpy. So, shall we take bets on the power at the rear wheels?
So they say 190 to 250.
Oh, that's really precise. I love that.
So I'm thinking.
That's called hedging your bet.
I'm thinking I'll go low and I'll say 190.
At the rear wheels?
At the rear wheels.
Okay, I'm gonna go a little higher than that. And it's probably foolish looking at the condition of this. You know, if it doesn't smoke itself, I'm gonna say 198. What do you think,
just
Eric?
above me.
I'm lowballing. I don't trust that filter. I'm going 175.
Oh,
lost some power
you know
at
what? He may know better than all of us.
All right.
We'll see. Well, once we see how much air density is left in that intake manifold, this is going to be interesting. All right, let's bang this turkey. Don't tell the Air Resources Board that we're running this thing, even though it's legit to run on the street.
Why? Because they can smell it from their offices?
Oh,
about 50 miles
yeah,
away?
down in El Monte, yeah. So the saying goes, you know, the brave commanding officer, I'll be watching you from yonder ridge through heavy lenses. And though I won't be there with you, I'll be with you in spirit. That's kind of how this is. When this thing blows, I don't want to be anywhere near it.
Well, I think there's enough steel around Eric to keep him safe.
Okay.
All right, so fingers crossed.
The truck itself is a scatter shield.
I should tell you this, that the rear brakes do not work at all.
The brakes are toast.
Only the front brakes work.
Oh, so it's a coast down.
It's a coast down, but he
Yeah.
has to use the e-brake. The e-brake does work.
Oh, the e-brake.
And it's one of those long handles under the dash.
And you drove it here on the freeway, right?
I did.
Oh,
It slowed down okay.
Hey, I can see the Corvair turbo muffler underneath. Look at that giant pipe, 1.75-inch pipe end.
They hang way too low.
That's what she said.
All right,
Here we go. I love that little whoop-de-doo on the rolls, you know.
The tires might be a little bit out of round
I
after
think the
19
tires
years.
are square.
All right, here we go.
Here it goes.
on,
Wind that
350.
baby up. Sounding good. All the everything's still inside. Woo! Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right.
Look at that bounce.
You gotta love that small block Chevy. Well,
All right, let's see what we made.
who wins the bet? That's the deal. So, okay, what do we got here? Third gear only, started at 27 miles an hour, finished at 95 miles an hour, took a 15-second sweep. Max power, uncorrected, 169.6. I'd call that 170, and that was at 4,738 RPM. Max torque that we saw, though, was 215.7 at 3422. Of course, the torque peak is lower than that. Horsepower peak happened at 87 miles an hour. The torque peak happened at 60.6.
I think I won at 175. Is
You
that
won.
mean, is someone buying me lunch?
You know, all right, he's bragging. This guy right here, Eric, you know, that guy just won something. I don't know what it is.
I'll buy the 6-pack of Coronas.
You're going to buy the 6-pack?
I'll buy since
Okay.
I lost.
Fair enough.
All right. 6-pack of Coronas. That ain't bad. The horsepower curve, really, the stock horsepower curve with a stock intake manifold and stock carburetor happened a lot earlier than this. Somewhere in here, 42, 4,400. This thing is damn near 4,800, 47, 40 nominally. That's the Edelbrock C4B manifold. And I found with those in the past, you lose a little torque, you gain a little horsepower. So what I want to talk about real quick here is what we learned about the power potential of this old engine versus the power we saw. So we took the SD card out of the DataMonster, plugged it in here, went to datalogviewer.com, which is a free site where you can go, download your data, chart it, graph it, whatever you want to do. Engines burn air and fuel, pounds of air to burn pounds of fuel, and usually at a certain air-fuel ratio. This thing is running around 12.5 to 1 at full power. 12.5 pounds of air to burn 1 pound of fuel. I like to look at the air density, the pounds of air per 1,000 cubic feet. Engines process cubic feet per minute, CFM. How much air mass is there in at each cubic foot the engine processes? That's what you get to mix the fuel with. So just looking at the air density right here, right now, 72.87 pounds per 1,000 cubic feet. That's represented by the blue line right here on the screen. That's the ambient air density. The red line is the air density in the intake manifold. So you'll see he's kind of part throttle here. The air density's down around 40, maybe a little better, pounds per 1,000, actually low 30s. When he gets up to wide open throttle and he sustains wide open throttle, the air density is at 62.05 pounds per 1,000. Here he shuts off the throttle at the end of the run and he goes back to idle and he's down around, I'd say 15 or so pounds per 1,000 cubic feet. Why does the engine idle? What does the throttle do? It regulates the air density in the intake manifold. So if I cut it down from 62 to 14 or 15, then I can pull a lot of fuel out, maintain the proper air-fuel ratio for idle. If there were more air in there and there was no throttle, you couldn't idle the engine. But a throttle regulates the air density in the intake manifold. That's what it does. Pounds of air, pounds of fuel. Now we're down to enough combustion energy for the engine just idle. What did we miss here between the ambient density and the manifold density? How much horsepower could we have had if we got the ambient density into the intake manifold? If you look at racing engines, you induct the coolest air possible. Sometimes you get a little velocity or ram into the intake, stand the butterflies on end, and sometimes you even get ambient pressure in the intake manifold and ambient density. Sometimes you get a little bit more. So we're sure as hell not getting that here. How much horsepower are we missing? First thing I look at is what was the density and what was the horsepower? The density was 62.05 pounds per 1,000. Horsepower was 170. Divide the 62.05 into the 170 and you get horsepower per pound of air density. 170 divided by 62.05 is 2.74 horsepower per pound of density. So what we would have if we had ambient density? Basically, I look at the difference between the two numbers. 72.87 minus 62.05 gives me 10.82 pounds that I'm missing. It's not there. 10.82 pounds is right at 15% that's missing. So I take the 2.74 and I multiply that times the 72.87, ambient density. 274 times 72.87, 199.6 horsepower. I'm calling that 200 horsepower. That's 30 horsepower due to loss of air density from the grille in front of the truck to the intake manifold. You lost 30 horsepower that you could have had, and if you did it right, maybe a little bit more. Boo. So when guys ask me, why do you look at air density? Well, there's a prime example right there. The density from ambient to intake manifold dropped 15%. What are the drivers of that? Well, temperature, pressure, and humidity. The humidity stayed the same at a little over 40%. The pressure, Mother Nature is providing us 14.53 PSI absolute. That's the pressure here. The pressure in the intake manifold, 13.73 at wide open throttle, full song. How about the temperature though? The temperature, this is really sad. The temperature ambient, 72.6 degrees. In the intake manifold, it's 131 degrees. So the temperature went up 80.4%.
Hot air intake for sure.
Yeah, this is a hot air intake. You've got that air cleaner under the hood. The coolant temperature is 180 degrees. The air's going through that radiator. I'm telling you.
Why don't people get it? This is proof positive.
Exposed element under the hood is just plain stupid. If you do that and you show it off like you got some shit going on, you got nothing. It's stupid. It's lame. It's ignorant. I can't think of anything else. There's got to be more. It's jackassery. That's what it is. It's pure jackassery.
170 horsepower, not all that impressive for this 1966 Chevy C20. There's a lot more that we can do with it.
Definitely needs more power.
You think? Jeez.
But what you guys don't know is that we've funneled some of Gale's ideas to Jeffrey Transu, a conceptual artist, and in the next episode, we're gonna show you what we've been cooking.
You bet. Take a look at how punk this thing actually is.
Next week, Jeff reveals the concept art and a few surprises.
Wait a minute. Oh.